Hello and welcome back to Nottingham. We are here for the WFDF World Masters Ultimate Club Championships. We are here to watch a quarter-final in the Masters Open division between Clapham of the UK and FIERRO of Argentina. My name is Sean Colfer and I'm joined by Benji Rees. Benji, what are we expecting in this game?
I'm really excited for this matchup. Clapham have been on the absolute warpath since coming in, laying waste to all comers in their path, up against quite a sparky upstart in FIERRO, but I think we had a little bit of an inkling as to their prowess. A really impressive top 8 finish at Windmill a couple of weeks ago, and they mean business. This is a banger of a matchup, Sean.
Yeah, we're expecting a really good game here. As you see the bracket, we are down to the final 8. As you see, there are 4 US teams, 2 Canadian teams, and then these 2 teams, Clapham and FIERRO, who are the only teams not from North America. The winner of this game will go and face the winner of Old Bay from the Bay Area and Woolly Mammoth out of Florida. As you say, Benji, Clapham have been tearing through this tournament. They have come into this game with no losses. Their closest game was not really that close.
No, a 15-6 victory over the Canadians' Dead Circus, I think just shows their strength. Dead Circus, another quarter-finalist. Otherwise, they've just been on top of absolutely everyone. A player to watch. How about Ashley Yo? He's been part of the furniture at Clapham for well over a decade at this point. Coming out of my alma mater, the University of Sussex. Thought I'd get that in nice and early. He is just known as a phenomenal goal scorer, a real field stretcher. But do not sleep on his quick disc movement as well. He loves getting it out of his hands with the dribbling give-and-go motion.
And then FIERRO come in with a lot of Argentinian players, some Colombians, some Americans as well. But one of their top scorers for this tournament, Benji, is one of their Argentinians.
Yeah, Guido Giarrusso is a real dual threat option for them. 12 assists and 10 goals. You love a player like that that's really multiple in what they can do because it makes it so tough to match up against. Don't want them on the disc, push them into the deep space, that's fine. We don't want them to keep scoring goals on us, we'll push them into the handler space. We don't mind that as well. If you can get those hybrids who can really hurt you in multiple ways, it's such a threat.
So we've seen over the course of the day the conditions are quite variable, still around 20 degrees, bearing in mind the wind. So when it's windy, it is definitely cooler than that. The wind, as you see here, 22 miles an hour is there, but it's very variable. It's largely going from left to right as the camera looks at things, as we look at things. So it is upwind, downwind points, but it swirls a bit. It does come towards the camera. It changes kind of through points and through games. So it's not necessarily going to be all upwind, downwind. It's not going to be consistent, which is the most important thing for these teams because it's quite difficult to plan for what you're going to do when the wind is so changeable. We have 2 teams that are very, very different in terms of their history and what they've been able to do. Clapham, for those of you in Europe will know I have an association with Clapham, and Clapham been around for a long, long, long time. 2000 was the year it started. A lot of these players have played together for a very long time, in some cases well over a decade. FIERRO, Benji, slightly different circumstance.
Yeah, the team was only really formed a few months ago for it at this tournament, mostly based in Argentina, looking at places like Rosario and La Plata, but a little bit of outside help as well from nearby Colombia and from the US.
So FIERRO get us underway, and we start in this quarterfinal. Be Tom Abrams to pick up the disc for Clapham in white, playing FIERRO in the yellow. Abrams to Ford. Ford looking for an option. Back to Abrams, but this goes through the hands of Abrams, and FIERRO are going to have their first chance to play this small ball style that's worked so effectively for them. It's with Giarrusso. Giarrusso, that's not small ball, over the top, looking for the player in the end zone, and it's scored by Ibanez for the first point in the game, and it's a FIERRO break.
That is an incredible throw from Guido Giarrusso. It's lovely when you highlight a player and they deliver almost instantly. The fumble from Abrams, let it slip through his fingers, and the Argentines pounced oh so quickly. You see it again here. It's just rising a little bit, and he's got the wrong hand on top really there to account for that edge. Should be left on top. He goes right. Can't get his hands clawed in a position. And a little bit of inside-out shape to sit it over Justin Ford into the hands of Mariano Ibanez. and FIERRO have come to play.
FIERRO come into this tournament off the back of a really impressive showing at Windmill. Top 8 there against a good field, Benji.
Absolutely. Looking at some of the contenders at the top of that open division in the way they played that week, making top 8 is nothing to be sniffed at.
Clapham Masters haven't played any warm-up tournaments that I can recall.
They were at Tom's tourney, not as a full squad, but
yes.
they finished 9th, but they only lost one game on the weekend, a Universe point defeat to Japan's Nomadic Tribe, who we'll see, of course, at the World Ultimate Club Championships in Limerick next month.
And who ended up finishing 3rd at that tournament? They certainly made the semis, so
they were a 3rd place finisher, correct.
Only being one loss to that team was pretty impressive showing at Tom's. So Clapham Masters back out again. Ollie Gordon on the disc. Goes down the lines of Magnus Wilson. There's a pick.
I think you could see that coming. There's a lot of congestion, a conglomeration of bodies in that central space.
This will come in with Wilson on that far side. Ford in reset position, goes back to Ford. And Vogel. And Vogel goes deep. Abrams in the area. Abrams can't quite reel that one in either. It's 2 turnovers for Clapham Masters in the first 2 points. Not as clean as I would have liked to start this game.
Yeah, Nasser Vogel, he saw the shape that Giaroso used, and so he starts it out inside out and knows it's going to flatten and turn out. Abrams can just only get a little tip on it. Maybe he went up ever so slightly too early, but he'd back himself to be catching that.
So FIERRO with the disc again. Koo with the disc. Goes over to Lopez. And Lopez down the line. That does not pay off. And Clapham Masters have a short field to work with here.
Yeah, even though it's been played sailing through their game so far for Clapham, they're always wary of the fact that they have not necessarily played a close game yet so far. So can they find a way to up that intensity if needed?
McHale, the lefty down the line. Ollie Gordon can't bring that one in. And another opportunity for FIERRO. Clapham struggling to complete passes in the early going. Lopez fires deep. But that's just too far in front of the receiver. Escara, one of the captains of the team. And Vogel beckoning Clapham back. And Clapham have really got to start building something here.
Yeah, I must say I don't hate it, even though it didn't come off. Take that field position every day.
Then Vogel finds Yo. Ford. To Abrams. And Yo. More serene progress here for Clapham Masters. Gordon. With the lefty to Ford. And McHale. McHale looks to go to Wilson, but that one's not going to come off either. It's 3 turnovers in this point for Clapham. FIERRO's defensive work is paying dividends, making Clapham make a lot of passes. They've been aggressive on the turns though, Benji.
Yeah, he showed too much under edge of the disc to the wind and it kept pushing it towards the near sideline.
Carnes with the disc, looking downfield. Storr's getting higher and higher. That disc is going to the end zone. Ford is underneath it, but that wind is pushing it above everybody and it rolls harmlessly to the back of the end zone. But Clapham have another full 70 to go.
Yeah, I think Vikram Sithuraman was the target, but was never getting a sniff at it.
As we see, as you said, Benji, that disc not quite the right shape to complete. But Clapham go over the top. Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon fires deep, looking for Connor McHale. That disc is bouncing around in the wind, but McHale is able to reel it in. And McHale goes to Yo in the end zone. Clapham really needed that hole, Benji.
They did indeed. Our 2 players to watch have been involved in the first 2 goals, which is quite pleasing. Ashley Yo there just stretching the field, making sure he was first there after McHale caught the deep shot. And when you have players of this experience and quality and you see the variation in height when they're going for these longer options, you know that it is tough sledding out there. Nasser and Vogel chancing his arm. Gordon reads it well. He's going to rip it as well. Good work from McHale to watch this one all the way in. Doesn't lay out for it, but he gets his body position low, so he's still trying to create that flat playing that backboard in behind.
You could see the disc moving all around in the air. So Mikhail had to make sure of it, and make sure of it he did. So we get our first look at the Clapham Masters D-line. CJ Colicchio with the pull. Clapham Masters with the wind here. Fielded by FIERRO at the back of the end zone. Fumbled a bit, but it is with noise and then over again. With Giarusso, who's looking downfield. Marked by Ben Hall. Giarusso looks for the inside break. Pressure. Good pressure from Clapham. Becca Chenot makes that catch harder than it needed to be, and it's a turnover.
Yeah, most of this Clapham side have played or are still playing with Clapham. I'll finish that point later.
Becca Chenot with the attempted hammer across the field. That does not come off. FIERRO with the disc. Pitts goes across to Cortina. Giarusso with the disc. Looks to go back to Cortina, but Hall dangles a leg out there. Does find Cortina further up the field. The Argentinians moving the ball quickly. It's with Cornell. Cortina. Little throw across. This quick movement's difficult to contain for Clapham. Pitts with the disc now. Finds Giarusso. Giarusso to the end zone. Two Clapham players in attendance, and they're the ones competing against each other in the end, and Colicchio brings it down.
Yeah, CJ Colicchio, the big man, was always getting a beat on that one, and he rips it immediately.
And it's over the top of the two first receivers. Hayden Slaughter's called for it. You can see Vlatic pulls out of it, and Slaughter catches it, and that is a break back for Clapham.
Yeah, good communication there. Slaughter in a better position. Could Zlatic have got there? Quite possibly, but decided actually I'm best off just leaving this a little bit, because Slaughter was right in position, coast to coast from CJ Colicchio. The point I was going to make about Rico Becker-Chenot and Mario Zlatic, they're the two players to have never donned the bullfrog before this week. But they fit right in to this roster. The two of them combining excellent defensive pressure there, using that long wingspan and reach to go up. And this is a peach, a juicy peach.
Excellent throw. Using the wind to his advantage perfectly, drifting it out in front. As you say, Benji, if Zlatic had needed to catch that, he probably could have had a bit on it, but Slaughter right in position to take that one down.
Yeah, CJ Colicchio playing his trade in the mixed division this season with the Padover Rangers. Which is, I must admit, it was a bit of an eyebrow raiser for me when he turned up there, just because I wasn't expecting it. But he's been putting in a good shift in the early season for them.
They had a good elite invite earlier in the year. Colicchio was a really important part of that, as Mikhail rolls this pull out of the sideline. Clapham trying to get an early trap going. As we see a brand new line. Mikhail and Ford come over from the O-line to play some defense. Briggs on the mark, generally known as an offensive player, but has been playing a lot of D-line for this Clapham team. Noise with the disc. Goes back to Giarusso. Giarusso swings across the field. Koo gives and goes. Has it just outside the end zone. Seth Rahman with the disc. And is that up? That's a very, very low throw. If he's got his hand under that.
How on earth has he fit that in there?
Clapham seems to accept it's up, and that's a goal. That's a daisy cutter if I've ever seen one.
A real worm burner, but somehow it stays off the grass. So Thurman, he's falling over. He's into the splits as he releases this. And that is up. Absolutely, that is up. And the craftiest of releases there from Sithuraman. Cunningham catches the score, but that's a crazy release point. What a throw. Only at Masters.
I'm not sure it's entirely replicable all the time.
Don't know what you mean.
I don't know that he necessarily wanted to do that, but it's an incredibly impressive throw.
100% completion ratio.
I suppose that's true. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with the numbers, Benji.
I mean, you can.
You can, and I would.
But it's not always prudent.
No. So FIERRO, 2-2, they will pull. We are back on serve after that first point break. Clapham have the break back, and now will try to put themselves in front for the first time in this game. FIERRO did say ahead of the game they thought these conditions favoured the small ball style that they like to play. We saw a lot of it in the last point. We've seen it from them. They certainly like those give-goes, playing similarly to the Colombian teams that we're used to seeing.
I mean, they throw with such a lovely touch, even in these windy conditions. Those delicious leading passes.
Looks like there is a call of offside, or is this a time violation?
I'm waiting for a hand signal somewhere.
So it did look as though Lopez indicated the offside call, which I believe means Mikhail would bring this to the line, and then FIERRO will be able to set up as though it were out of a timeout. I believe that is what we're discussing here. So FIERRO will be able to set up in an ideal situation before the disc comes in. So Mikhail goes over to Ford, just shy of the attacking Brit mark. Ford goes to Ollie Gordon, but Gordon again can't quite wrap his hands around it. Clapham struggling with their catching early in this game.
There's a contagious case of fumbleitis going around.
These windy conditions don't just affect the throwing, they affect the catching, and Clapham haven't quite got to grips with it as yet.
And often it is infectious. One player who you don't expect makes a bad drop, and then all of a sudden everyone else, maybe a seed of doubt gets put into their head, and more drops start coming.
Phenomenal D from Clapham there as a stall line, Huck deep, and Bayvogel throwing himself in there to try and get a block in the end. Was not a million miles away from Schwieterman, but the disc rolls, and now Clapham have got to go even further than they did off the pull. Mikhail's open. Scuba over the top from Bayvogel, and it's through Mikhail's hands. Another Clapham drop. Shot across the end zone. That one will not work out. Justin Ford studs the disc incredibly hard. I don't think he'd have been able to do more damage to that disc if he had tried to do so.
New discs, please. Thank you to Discraft, by the way, the official disc supplier of the WFDF.
Yes, a lot of designs available. They look very nice.
I know they are for sale at the merch tent being run by our friends over at VC.
I know we talked about we were trying to identify what team was wearing those blue and brown checks yesterday. I really like the design.
And it's the official tournament merch.
It's a tournament merch, so well done to VC. I think that looks very nice. Mikhail with the disc on his own end zone line. Looks to break the mark across the field to Ford. There's not enough on that one. Mikhail frustrated with what he's seeing downfield, and the disc is on this near sideline, and FIERRO are going to have it back.
I felt like Clapham was set up very deep downfield.
It's with Koo. Koo, the inside shot, too much on that one. But again, it's in the end zone, and Clapham are going to have to go a long way with this one, as in Bayvogel runs towards it.
For a moment, I thought Ash was going to pick it up for a second. No, just stopped the roll and moved on.
Yo goes deep, and Bayvogel doesn't bring it to the front of the end zone. Instead, comes to Ford. Ford goes deep, looking for Yo. Not enough on that one, and it's another turnover. And FIERRO's D-line is getting real joy out of this Clapham O-line.
This is so sloppy from Clapham, you have to say. I mean, credit to FIERRO. They're taking advantage. They're making these opportunities, but given how locked in Clapham have been this week, this is a somewhat surprising performance. Travel called.
Travel called on the first throw by Bayvogel. Ibanez frustrated because he was so free. Ibanez, who got that block on the throw from Ford to Yo. There appears to have been a foul call, but if there's been a travel that's called further down, then the foul call doesn't really affect anything. We are back with the disc with Lopez, although Lopez asked for his translator.
Yeah, this is one of the things about Ultimate that it's easy for us to forget, is that obviously we get the benefit of being able to converse in our native language, but obviously it's not so easy for everyone. No,
I mean, Bayvogel not discussing things in his native language.
You know what? That's
either.
fair.
Bayvogel, French stalwart, Good reset defence again from Clapham, and Bayvogel locking out that reset. In the end, it was a very, very difficult throw around the mark. And despite the bid by Ibanez, can't quite get there.
You say French stalwart. Nasir's, and this is not meant derogatorily in any way, a bit of a journeyman. He's played for the great and good of Ultimate, not just in Europe, but worldwide.
Yeah, he's had a lot of time in Canada as well, but that throw off the line isn't going to hit the mark. Ibanez with another block.
Whoop.
FIERRO looking to be off to the races, but a slip is going to slow things down there. So is it going to stay with Ku, or does it go back to Lopez? There was some discussion before the game about what each team would do with the conditions. As we said, FIERRO said that they felt that their small ball style would work well in the wind. Clapham did say their aim was to not play the conditions too much unless they became more of a factor. But do you think the conditions are having a big say in this game for Clapham, Benji? They're making a lot more drops than we are used to seeing.
I think maybe they've underestimated them a little bit, but there is so many mistakes that even with the wind you wouldn't expect them to make.
And that is another break. A phenomenal throw to Schwieterman. And FIERRO playing spoiler really effectively here.
Yeah, they fully deserve it. I mean, this is a Clapham side that hasn't had a game closer than 15-6. And FIERRO taking the early lead. Another break already. And they'll be frustrated maybe that it took them so many chances. But Clapham have just given the disc away at will. It's been so unlike them at their miserly best. They're just giving it away for free time and time again.
Yeah, it's not even under significant pressure. Certainly the kind of pressure that these players are used to playing under. The conditions are bad, but I'm sure they've played in worse. I don't know how many times Clapham have broken in this tournament. I know Pelt broke them in a pool game, which is a game that Clapham ended up winning 15-3, so the break didn't exactly change the result there. But 2 breaks in the first few points of the game, certainly not something this team has experienced at this tournament.
What I do know is that Pelt would have very much enjoyed that.
I'm sure. Pelt, I think it was the first point, actually, that Pelt broke them to go 1-0 up.
And that's the real quiz.
Big pull from FIERRO, using the wind to their advantage. And it just bends away from Abrams right at the last minute, so he'll take it at the front cone instead of centering to Briggs. Abrams with the disc. Centers to Wilson. Forward with the disc. Looking deep. McHale and Bayvogel clear. Briggs has it. Briggs. Flick, often a weapon used by this team. Back to Briggs. He has options going deep. Instead, looking at his reset, this stall is getting quite high now, and that flick has to go. The disc turns over a bit, but Ford, is he able to get his body under it? He is. It's been called down. It's been called down by Giarosso, and Yo catches it to make sure that this discussion does matter.
Yeah. I don't know if Ash knew that that there was a call back on the up-down, but he did the right thing by just following through because he couldn't take the risk that actually will just retract it. If it is down, it seems up to me. It's tricky from that angle to tell perfectly because Justin Ford's back is shielding it from us, but I think he was able to get possession there before. I mean, I didn't actually see it hit the ground.
It does look to me as though it's up. Again, I'll repeat, there is some level of bias here. Justin is on a team that I do coach, but Justin, generally speaking, his spirit is very good, and I would say he doesn't make many calls that aren't, well, doesn't make any calls that aren't correct.
Just to make it abundantly clear in case people were confused, that team that you coach that Justin is on,
yes,
is Clapham.
Is Clapham, yes. Not Clapham Masters, but is Clapham. And as we've accepted that the disc was up, we've also accepted that is a goal. So Ashio chasing that one down, reeling it in, ends up being incredibly impactful, although Giarosso doesn't look delighted that that is the case. Magnus Wilson stays to discuss, but Giarosso is discussing with some of his teammates. Ignacio Pelotti, one of the captains, is having a discussion with him there. But Clapham are preparing for the next O point.
Yeah.
Or the D point, sorry.
Seems like FIERRO happy enough. Sometimes your biggest strength can be your biggest flaw, but that time I think Briggs had no choice other than to gun the forehand. He got the power on it, forward from a slightly awkward angle, but just turning away from Yo, and he does superbly to scoop it, and also just turn the hand to not ground strip himself on the landing. Excellent work by Yo. And then I agree, I don't think the call stopped the throw, because obviously Ford didn't hear it. It's not like there was no one putting a force on there. I think that allowing the goal to stand is a fair outcome.
Agreed. So here we go, FIERRO O-line. Giarosso is back out there. And Colicchio with another big pull. It's going to roll into the end zone.
Also, I hate Clapham, so you know I'm unbiased.
Briggs on the mark. Cunningham to Giarosso. Over to Cortina and Giarosso again. Giarosso with a big shot downfield. And that is caught. That is a goal for Ignacio Pelotti, one of the captains of the team. Big man, moving fast downfield. Very, very well caught by, or very well identified by Giarosso, who we identified him at the start, and you spoke about it, Benji, is playing very, very well here.
Yeah, he is indeed. You see why he's been so instrumental for them. When you're hucking against a player who's got that sort of stature like Colicchio does, you don't have a huge margin for error. But again, just not an exaggerated, but a turn of inside-out edge on it so that it flattens out, and Colicchio didn't have a sniff. A lot of the time when you see players try and jump it in there, it turns out they often left the ground after they'd caught it. But that looked A-OK to me, much to Colicchio's disdain.
Pelotti offering the high five, and Colicchio, I assume, didn't see him, rather than just saw it and walked off.
Giving him the just a minute benefit of the doubt there.
Does look good though. Looks very funny.
It was a good shot.
So FIERRO, still a break up here. As Giarosso is staying out there. He pulls it. Fielded by Ford, although Briggs wasn't sure. Ford has it just outside the end zone. Briggs again. Briggs looking to get it back to Ford. Didn't want to go to Gordon on the open cut, in the open side. That's a difficult corner to get out of. Instead comes to Mikhail.
Yeah, there was a call from the sideline of too deep. I think just kind of setting up as if they were taking the ball from the front of the end zone rather than in the middle.
Ford to Yo. Phenomenal catch behind him. There is a pick call. Clapham working it up relatively serenely, but that's a very important catch for Yo.
I will say the last couple of points, their offense has felt a lot more normalised, even though they did get into a dicey situation the last time they were going in this direction.
Yeah, certainly has. Seems like they're slightly more at the level the conditions require now. Yo back to Briggs. Briggs fires it to Gordon, who goes to Mikhail. Mikhail looking downfield. Yo's got a deep cut, but doesn't take it. Instead goes to Wilson, and the two defenders collide.
Yeah, this will be a pick. Does seem that everyone's okay, though, which is good.
Yeah, Briggs and Wilson going opposite directions, and the two players marking them, just colliding.
I don't think there's ever a clear example of the pick by the fact they actually ran into each other.
Yes. Yeah, pretty heavy. Just talking about whether it affected anything. I think the disc stays with Wilson. I would assume that there'll be a catch-up here. There we go. Mikhail. Bid coming in. Pressure on every throw. Wilson catches it. Fit into a very tight window there. Poach. Violation called. But Setharaman very, very close on that throw to Mikhail. And then a little poach in front of Wilson as Wilson was trying to reset. But it goes over to Ford. Quite a lot of movement downfield from Clapham. Gordon, some space. Gordon's looking into the end zone. Wilson clears. A lot of poaching off by FIERRO. They're really happy to see that side to Clapham, and that goes basically through Ibanez's hand. Good reaction from Abrams, because he must have expected that to be blocked.
He bangs the ground in frustration like a big bass drum, because he came so close, and I do not know how Mikhail was able to sneak that one in there. Maybe he shouldn't have been able to sneak that one in there. I totally understand Ibanez's frustration. I thought they defended that really well. In these wins, The aim is to try and get them to chance their arms slightly, risk it by hitting those over-the-top options. If we can flood the front of the end zone, just really cloud the vision and make it so there's not a clear avenue. If you want to take those over the shots in these conditions, go ahead. But at that time, Mikhail, I think part of that is the lefty advantage as well, to create the angle, to whip that one back in. But oh my word, that was so close to being spoiled.
Yes, start to the game is a little more up and down for Clapham than we're used to seeing, but this is an excellent start by FIERRO, putting really good pressure on. Modern day teams really do want to score on that front line, and as Benji said, FIERRO just flooding the line, making them go over the top and asking a question of, we know what you want to do, can you do something else? Can FIERRO keep this going offensively? Giroso out there again, has been playing both ways for the Argentines in the early going here. Fires down the sideline. Pilotti. Giroso gets his hands around it, but it looks like that one hit the deck first. It's called down, and everyone agrees.
Yeah, I think pretty clear cut.
Briggs will pick it up, looking to get this break back for Clapham.
Not a bad weapon to have on the D-line.
Colicchio to Becca Chagnot. Goes over the top, and Schoen is there. Clapham have the break back. Big moment for Clapham in this game, potentially.
That is something a little bit crafty there for Enrico Becker-Chagnot. Showing some of the creative credentials that we've seen him flash in the past for France and is no good in the Tokai Super Team a couple of summers ago as well.
Yeah, that windmill had a good shift for that team, as we see the throw just out in front. And to be fair to Giroso, it's actually really impressive to get his hands around it, but it definitely hit the deck first. Yeah,
and there was no argument from him. And then just a casual toss over the top to Schoen. I feel like at some point we had a survey from him, and he said his name should be pronounced like Scone/Scone. I think deliberately obstructively.
I'm relatively sure it's Schoen.
I know, I think it is.
Yeah, good.
But I just thought it was very funny that they put that, knowing the debate around how it should be pronounced. I would say Scone. I'm a man of the people.
Well, you would be wrong. Here's the pull from birthday boy Ben Funk.
That's true.
One of the Clapham gave us several things before the game. Most of them were lies, but that one is actually true, and it's a turnover for the birthday boy in his hands. Becker-Chagnot. So Ben Hall goes over across, and Zlatic drags the toe in, and he's called in. Break for Clapham, and they lead for the first time in this game.
How about that for toe drag swag there from Mario Zlatic. Clapham Masters getting a break advantage for the first time. They have been able to earn back the couple of breaks they gave up, but that's the first time they go a break up. The throw just popped up. Birthday boy Ben Funk was there, as is his full legal title now. But yeah, Woody, as he's often known, Ben Hall, he didn't half make Zlatic work for that one. There's the turnover. Funk probably can't believe his luck.
He would take the gift.
He will indeed take the big birthday present there. Also, we'd see Ben Funk playing without gloves. Evidently, the retirement feels like it's a bit easier on his hands. And then Zlatic with the Nureyev balletic finish.
Clapham putting out a very familiar-looking D-line here. Ollie Gordon coming over from the O-line. Otherwise, we've seen a lot of this group before playing D, and Colicchio with another big pull, but it is an offside call made by the game advisor. FIERRO will take it on the brick mark. Hall has been marking Giroso for the majority of the game. One of Clapham's top defenders, Clapham Masters and Clapham Seniors.
Yeah, new to Clapham this season, only just moved down to London. Rich get richer.
Shot deep early from FIERRO, but the shot from Setharaman is not going to complete, and this is going to be another opportunity for Clapham here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a big target down there in Pilotti, but that one never had enough juice. Came out like a weak squash instead.
Clapham haven't really been in too many games so far in this tournament, but they're definitely in one here. FIERRO very, very happy to take those aggressive shots, and they're playing really, really good D. as Becker Chagnon picks it up. Fakes the deep shot. Garner squirreling open in the reset. Swings across to Gordon. Colicchio is there as well if needed. Hall with the disc. Hall goes deep, looking for Becker Chagnon. It's drifting up in the air a bit, but Becker Chagnon is going to catch it. Is he in? Called not in. Doesn't really matter because he's able to pop it across to Phil Garner, and it's another break for the Clapham Masters.
They were always looking for the deep shot in that direction. You don't really have to pump it. Get a little bit of a higher release and just sit it out there on the wind. Trust that your big men downfield have the read. Colicchio and Becker Chagnon in the area again, as they were for an earlier block. That time Colicchio rose highest. This time it's Rico Becker Chagnon who catches and racks up his third assist of the game. This deep shot from Sithiraman in that direction, never had enough on it. Hall pulls the trigger. Becker Chagnon catches above the bidding Sithiraman. And then Phil Garner, who is back with the side after a couple of days off on dad duty, finishes the point, and we now have a timeout on the field to be taken by FIERRO, as there's a lot of other Brits in the stands supporting their compatriots.
I'm not sure. Usually people wouldn't be supporting Clapham in my experience, but I'm sure there will be, given they're playing against an Argentinian team here. But Clapham lead, timeout for FIERRO, and will be returning very, very soon. Welcome back to Nottingham, the quarterfinal in the Masters Open Division here at the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships between FIERRO of Argentina and Clapham of the UK. Clapham about to go out on defence. They lead 7-4 after a bit of a turnaround of fortunes. We'll come back to that shortly. But FIERRO with the disc on their own Britmark. Girosso, their key man.
Heard of a game of two halves, but we've got a half of two halves so far.
We really do.
And not in the FIFA sense.
No water breaks here. Girosso goes deep, but that is clap caught by Slaughter, and it looks as though there is a call. There is a call. Everyone downfield has now realised that. Not sure what the call is. Is there a foul call?
I saw someone make the hand signal for a stall, in which case you imagine Clapham would just retract this. To your point, Clapham turned it over 10 times in the last 5 points. In the 6 points since, they've been 5 for 5 on scores when they've got it.
After that, you say check.
I stepped off at about 8.5. You tried to throw a flick and then you threw it back in.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably I don't have any perspective because I couldn't hear any stalls. Okay. So seems like it's a disagreement here. So shall we?
Genuinely, you don't think you were stalled there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna keep. I'm holding the call. I'm confident that was a stall out. If you contest, we'll come in, but you have to contest.
Okay, it's contested. Yeah, stall out. Okay, yeah, stall out.
Okay.
Contested.
Okay, that's fine then. The target's
good. So
I'm out.
are you? Okay. Cool. Okay.
So the discussion about stall out went on for much longer than it needed to, considering that Hayden Slaughter clap caught that, but. We'll carry on. I
guess Thunk thought, he's convinced that he stalled him out, so he thought, why would we take the turnover down there when we could have it down, we could have it up here? But in the end, I think his teammates just say, just leave it.
Zlatic to Garner. Zlatic is going deep. Garner decides not to throw it. Instead goes to Briggs. Briggs does throw it. That's swirling. It's coming back to the near side. Zlatic tries to read it, but it goes over his head. It is a turnover. And that, to Benji's point, is the first turnover that Clapham have had in quite some time. It's a real difference there. The first 4 times that Clapham touched the disc, 10 turnovers. And then 5 points with no turnovers whatsoever.
I like that Ben Funk threw his hat off just in case that would help.
So a turnover from Clapham gives FIERRO the disc back. FIERRO, who have been playing small ball very successfully, instead go with a deep shot, and that shot from Cortina looked for all the world like it was going to be on the money, but it just died right in front of Noise.
Yeah, the Ultra Star just dropped anchor as soon as it got to the end zone and left Noise a little bit flat-footed.
Real battle between these two teams here. As Briggs goes to pick the disc up. A break here for Clapham would obviously be a half-time taking break as they lead 7-4. Briggs with Slaughter in front of him. Goes to Slaughter, who can't get his hands around it. Another turnover for Clapham. And FIERRO, this time, cash it in. The throw from Noise finds Setharaman, and they are going to get the D-line back out there, and Clapham are going to have to earn half on offense.
Yeah, they were given a couple of opportunities at it. The first they went with the deep shot that tailed away. Then that time they gave them a freebie. On that short of field position, aside the quality of FIERRO is not going to miss. You see there the flick bomb that Briggs is known for, but this one no one really had a beat on it.
Yeah, Joy is drifting over the head. And then Slaughter can't quite wrap his hands around that one. Good quick pickup from Noise and good reaction from Setharaman.
Good opportunity here for the Bullfrogs to take the half.
So you said, Benji, the closest game Clapham have had so far is 15-6. Already 7-5 here. Good performance from FIERRO. And given what they've already showed on D, I'm sure they're confident they can get back into this one.
Yeah, whenever you're able to get breaks early against a side of this quality, it just gives you confidence for the rest of the game, knowing that we've broken them before. If we play well, we can do it again, as opposed to waiting and waiting until you get that first break on, and the longer it takes, the bigger that mental block is you have to overcome.
So pull from FIERRO, another roll out the side, both teams favouring that option. Given the wind here, it's very, very difficult to pin your opponent back inside their own half, coming from right to left. So instead, rolling it down the sidelines to try and set up some kind of a trap. Abrams goes to pick up the disc, and he will bring it in. Marked by Koo. Abrams comes into Ford, who's been open on a couple of those centering passes. Gordon with the disc, looking into the end zone, fakes the flick. Instead goes to Yo, and Yo pops it in for Abrams, who accepts the easy pass. Clapham score, they lead 8-5 and take half.
Yeah, after a really ropey start from Clapham, it has to be said, they did well to fortify themselves, both mentally and just physically a little bit as well, because as getting over the mental block, they just had way too many drops. But as soon as they were able to sort that out, they really have begun to show their quality.
But they're in a battle here. Team from the UK, team from Argentina. We've a lot of football history here, rugby history. These two countries faced off each other many times. We've got a good potential showing, or a good potential battling prospect here. Clapham lead 8-5 over FIERRO. We'll be back for the second half shortly. Hope to join you then.
This summer, Ultimate takes over the world. From the rising stars of World Junior Ultimate Championships to the seasoned battles of the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships to the biggest stage in Club Ultimate, the World Ultimate Club Championships. Watch it all unfold live exclusively on Ultiworld.
Get the ultimate news you need to know with the Deep Look podcast. I'm Charlie Eisenhood.
And I'm Keith Rayner, and together we bring the games, names, and moments in Ultimate to your podcast feed. We talk Ultimate's biggest news from on and off the field about and with the people making it.
And every week, we go live on YouTube. Come join the fun, the trivia, the picks, the analysis, and more, Tuesdays at noon Eastern Time.
We'll see you there.
Welcome back to windy Nottingham. This is a quarterfinal in the Masters Open Division and the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships between Clapham of the UK and FIERRO of Argentina. As you see highlights of the first half, Clapham lead 8-5, but not necessarily the game that Clapham would have been expecting, Benji.
Yeah, I think they were expecting to be pushed by FIERRO. By no means did they think that there was going to be an easy game for them, and they even mentioned in the build-up how the fact that they've blown teams away so far left them, I don't want to say nervous, but I think they were well aware that FIERRO, having come out of a tough group already, might be a little bit more battle-tested. And FIERRO really put it on them early, but before Clapham really steadied themselves at the end of that first half.
So we see Clapham with the 57% break percentage, very good, but that whole percentage, 67%, 4 out of 6. Only 3 of them clean, definitely something that Clapham are going to want to work on here.
Yeah, they're what do they say? Cleanliness is next to godliness.
They do.
And Clapham always do fancy themselves up in the heavens a little bit, especially when you wear all white. You sort of have to play well.
Giroso playing very well for FIERRO, but there's a few players making an impact. Ibanez has a goal and 2 blocks. Setharahman and Noise both been playing well. You see a couple of points here with a lot of turnovers. That break for FIERRO early on with his 9 turnovers in the point. Then a very clean run from Clapham before that point, just before the half, where there was 2 turns each and FIERRO managed to hold it.
Yeah, you see there they had that section where they scored 5 out of 6 points, or let me do the maths here, 5 out of 6 points and didn't turn it over.
This is a free game for today, but if you do want to get an Ultiworld subscription, see all the games from the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships and beyond, you can subscribe at ultiworld.com, and as part of that subscription you will get access to the Ultiworld Discord, the best place to talk about Ultimate online. See Benji and I in there. I'm usually talking about Frisbee, and Benji is talking about his menagerie of cats.
Among other things. It's also the place where if you want to listen to, for example, the out-the-back segments from Deep Look, or maybe the Reporters Roundtable from the big events, whether that be club or college nationals, the place to do that is in the Ultiworld Discord. Thoroughly recommended.
Noise brings it in for FIERRO on the sideline, another roller pull. We've seen both teams utilise that strategy extensively. Noise with the disc. FIERRO near their own brick mark. That disc goes deep, Funk's in position, and it's going over everyone's head. We were expecting FIERRO to play small ball. They were doing it relatively effectively in the first half, but they have gone to So a bit more Huck and Dio the last few points.
Yeah, in this direction, I definitely don't mind opening it up a bit more. Certainly when you go against the wind, I think the small ball style behooves them. And to be honest, I think they could go back to it a little bit more, even with the wind at their backs, because they do it so well.
I think Clapham's reset D has been very good and has maybe put them off using it too much, especially when they're fairly close to their own end zone, as Benji says, with this downwind direction. But
that's fair.
I would have expected them to play a bit more of this small ball. That's certainly what we were expecting based on what we knew about the team. Briggs brings it to the front of the end zone, fakes that Huck. Instead looking for Thorn. Goes to Hall. Hall out in front of Briggs. Briggs again fakes it and goes to Hall. Phenomenal catch there from Hall, given the little bounce, and there is a call in the stack. Looks like a pick.
For a moment I thought that Hall might have done himself a mischief. He has a player who has struggled with injuries in the past, and it's why it's always so good to see him out there at full flow.
So you wash your mouth out, don't jinx anything.
I'm absolutely not trying to speak that into existence, believe me.
Briggs with the disc. Thorn working to get free on the reset. Disc with Thorn. Garner's gone deep. Thorn, discretion, better part of Valor there. Over to Hall. Slaughter goes deep. FIERRO marshalling these deep cuts well. Briggs looking for an option, instead goes to Hall. The three of these Clapham players running a bit of a dominator set here. Thorn's open far side, but Briggs is open right in front of Hall. Briggs with the disc, looking for an option. Fires it into Hall. Becca Chagnot is available on the far side, but instead Hall looks for a different option. Late in the stall count, stall out has been called. Slaughter has called it, so we're going to come back and discuss that stall out.
It really did feel like it was getting there or thereabouts. I wasn't doing the counting in my head.
No, it's got to be close though. That's certainly not unreasonable.
7, 8, 9, 10. You did too quick. You really did too. That's fine. No, but you did really quick. From 9 to 10 was really quick. Too quick.
Okay, sounds like it's contested. Contested?
Yeah, too quick.
Okay, so it's contested. So we got a stall out. It's contested. Over here, coming in, stalling 8.
Teammates joining in to agree with their teammates.
Okay.
Love it when that happens.
But I can translate. Dice que acelerar. Okay.
Game advisor helping to translate there as well. Goes back to Hall, coming in on 8. Would expect to see a very quick option taken here. Hall breaks to Slaughter. Slaughter pops it off to Briggs. Hall's open down the line. Goes back to him. Thorn open, and it's bounced out of his hands and taken in by the FIERRO defender. Noise snatches it away from the two Clapham players in the area. And FIERRO now looking to move it quickly. Giarosso with the disc. Goes over to the far side and gets it back. Big gap between the FIERRO cutters here. Pilotti already very deep. Giarosso looks to go down the line, but Thorn is in great position and Cunningham can't reel it in. Becca Chagnot picks it up and goes quickly. Briggs with the disc, looking to make it, or to get it off the sideline. Becca Chagnot threads the needle. Goes to Birthday Boy Ben Funk. And here's another goal for Clapham. Right out of half, another break.
Devastating there for FIERRO. You give yourself a couple of chances.
Devastating for FIERRO, for you.
Why would I be devastated? I'm famously impartial. I was even complimented on the sideline for my impartiality.
You were.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
It was wrong, but this is how they got the disc back. I mean, it just smuggles it through Thorn's grasp. He tries to clutch it to his chest, but he was in position to make amends and spare his own blushes before Becca Chagnot threads that through into Ben Funk for the Birthday Boy Ben Funk for the school.
Really brave D from Noise as well. There's a Clapham player on either side and he just puts himself in there and snatches it away.
I fully respect that D from Noise. That's 4 assists now for Rico.
And only the one turn.
It's pretty good going.
He's playing very aggressively, taking a lot of deep shots, really pushing the disc downfield, but he's doing so in a very considered and accurate manner so far.
I mean, that's what he does, and it's part of the reason I think why he's a good fit on this team, because especially on the D-line, it's nice to have those players who are unafraid to take risks, because it's been said in the past that Clapham style is, what's the word I'm looking for? Boring.
Oh, I thought you were going to try and be polite, but no, you went straight rude.
And sometimes you need a little bit of spice in there, I think.
Fierro with the disc.
I'm not saying that I would say that. I'm just saying that it has been mentioned.
Critics say.
In the Ultiworld discourse.
By you.
Ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Girosso with the disc. Fierro going back a bit to that small ball style, but again, Clapham gumming things up, maybe giving some indication of why they moved away from it. And we're back to big ball. That disc is hanging in the air. Zlatic and Cortina underneath it, but again, it doesn't matter. It's happened a few times now for both teams where players have been ready in a pile under the disc, but it's drifted all the way out.
I think that suits Clapham absolutely fine. If we can just gum up the unders and really make you try and put it over the top in this in either direction, to be honest, they feel like they can win those 50-50s and the sky battles, and with the wind it's just going to make it so tough to read that a lot of the time we're not going to get it. Doesn't matter because you're not either.
There's a lot of O-line players out here for Clapham. Mikhail, Gordon, Yo, Cragg, all been playing on the O-line. Mikhail rips it deep, looking for Yo. Yo turns on the motor, manages to get there. Zlatic is free on the far side. Colicchio is going to make up the ground to get it on this near side. Goes to Yo, who takes it off his shoelaces and then pops it into Colicchio. Another break for Clapham, and it's starting to take more of a complexion that Clapham expected coming in, but Fierro got it in to pull this back a bit, Benji.
Mikhail only had one thing in mind when he brought that in, and it's how far do I have to throw this to make it a nice, comfortable catch for Yo. Turns, guns it downfield. You can see the height vary a little bit, but excellent cut. You see the separation from Yo, and this is what he wants to do. He doesn't want to hold on to the disc at all. He wants to get it out of his hands quickly so he can find himself open as an option again, and just the simple little pop to Colicchio for the score. 10-5, and you wonder now if Fierro are in danger of being, as we have often called it in the past, Claphamed.
Yeah.
Where a game is close at half and then the game finishes and it feels like there was never a problem at all. But it kind of belies how tight it was at half.
As we've often talked about during this tournament, Benji, it's nice to see families around. Ashio's family here to watch him play and watch him dominate so far. Although 2 goals and 2 assists.
I assume that's his child and not someone else's. They do have the jersey on back to front.
Go and tell him.
Everyone's a critic.
Yeah. So Fierro trying to get on the scoreboard for the first time in the second half. Ku goes over to the far side to Noise. Noise looking to the end zone. Takes a little narrow one into Cortina. Cortina shapes that hammer. There's not much else on. Throws the hammer. But it's going to be Becca Chenot blocking into the end zone. Picks it up and goes to Hall. Hall's got Slaughter in acres of space in front of him. Slaughter bleeds that a bit. Looks deep and instead goes to Hall. Garner does have some space back there, but Clapham working it nice and calmly. Hall with the disc. Goes down the line looking for Briggs. Out in front of Briggs, but he'll take that in. It's another break for Clapham. 3 breaks in a row to start this second half, and they're in dreamland. Meanwhile, some of the Fierro players with their hands on their knees are looking pretty gassed.
This is the thing that this Clapham side can do. They've not got the largest roster here this weekend, but every single player on this roster is of the highest quality, and they all really contribute, and it means that there's never any let-up. You don't look out there and think, okay, this is a line where we fancy our chances, because wave after wave they send at you. It's so tough. On the high stall, seeing if he can throw up a prayer with the hammer. It wasn't to be. And then Hall pivots wide out of the pitch, gets the angle, the trajectory of that one right to Briggs. I think so often, because the flick is such a weapon, people really like to funnel Briggs as a handler. I think in the past Clapham have done that a little bit as well, but actually I really like him when you can get him a little bit more downfield, because he's got more athleticism than he's often given credit for.
Certainly has. He's very effective in those particularly longer cuts. He is fast, he can jump, and Clapham Masters took advantage of those attributes there. Ben Funk, birthday boy Ben Funk, with a big pull, goes over the head of the first receiver, but in the end centered again to Lopez. And now with Girosso. Lopez and Girosso playing a bit of give-go. Found some space. Lopez on the far side. But again, Clapham's reset defence making that small ball style very, very difficult. And FIERRO looks to go over the top a little bit. There's loads of space there, but it's just too far. And Birthday Boy Ben Funk gets his hand on it. Becca Chagnot wastes no time. Rips it deep. It's over the head of Colicchio. Ford can't quite get his hand around it.
Excellent D there by CJ Colicchio to prevent it from going to Ford's hand.
And it's with Gomez. Back to him, a little give and go. Run with noise. And a turnover. Colicchio reads that like a book. Straight to him like the pass was intended for him. Ford with the disc. Goes to Colicchio, who pops it over to Ollie Gordon. Another break for Clapham. 4 in a row to start this second half. Add that to the 0 point going into half. That's 5 in a row for the men from London.
If I'm a potential semi-finalist who's maybe watching this game, I think this is ominous because they really have started to tick up. The defence there, it was thrown into the hands of Colicchio, but I actually think it's Bekesh Onyou who creates this because he sees what's going on and he really gambles and cheats up. As a result, they try and force the inside lane. It's thrown right into the breadbasket for Colicchio, and he has the simplest of finishes at the end to find OG Ollie Gordon for the score. The big yinzer there, CJ Colicchio, is clearly happy with his afternoon's work.
Yeah, you can see why. Clapham really spreading contributions across almost the whole roster. The majority of the players playing for them have contributed something in this game.
I called him a yinzer because as far as I'm aware, he's played a lot in Pittsburgh, but I think he's actually from New York.
I think that's right, but you're right, he was in Pittsburgh for a fair amount of time there. As Connor McHale gets ready to pull, brought over from the O-line. Abrams and Mbe Vogel also brought over from the O-line here. As we see another roll out the side. That one's basically in line with the Brit mark. And a really good chase from Slaughter ensures FIERRO are in a pretty disadvantageous position despite the fact they've got the wind at their backs. A rip deep from Girosso. McInerney's not in place. Big bid from McHale. Does a great job up against the taller man of Pilotti. And Schoen with the disc now. Schoen looking downfield. Goes back inside to McHale. Goes to Garner. Turns down the throw to Schoen. Instead goes to Slaughter. Clapham playing with so much confidence and swagger now. McHale with the disc. Abrams down the line. Can't quite get there. And McInerney can't back it up either. FIERRO will have to go the full field.
It was excellent D by McHale on the first deep shot there to Pilotti, because Pilotti is an absolute skyscraper.
He's a big lad.
He's not short.
And that's not just in comparison to me and Benji, who are not necessarily tall. He's tall compared to other people. Nice throw across the field there. Ibanez with the disc now. Girosso wants it back. He gets it back. Schoen gambles all the way under. Slaughter helping out his teammate, covering gaps up, but that's a really nice throw from Lopez. Finds Girosso in space, but there's nothing for him to take advantage of that power position with. This reset defense is so good, but that's another fantastic throw to Lopez. FIERRO doing a great job of playing in these small spaces when they need to. Carnes with the disc. Tries to go over the top. Little bump from Girosso. It is a foul. He's down quite theatrically, I would say, Benji.
What? And does it remind you of anyone in particular?
Well, I see it Argentinian, there's definitely a bump.
Are you calling this Simeone-esque?
It's David Beckham in 2002 give an Argentinian a kick for that, but Slaughter is more restrained in his reaction and instead accepts the foul. Girosso with the disc. Girosso with the shot to the end zone. Oh, that's not far away from Visionary, honestly, but it's out the side of the end zone. And Clapham will have another opportunity here.
I hate to correct you. Actually, that's not true. But I'm pretty sure it was 1998 he got sent off against Argentina.
It was 1998. It was 2002 he scored the penalty. I was getting our battles with Argentinians mixed up. I apologise. I can't believe I haven't worked in the hand of God so far.
If someone makes a remarkable catch, it's right there for us.
Right. There we go. barely going to be concentrating on anything else now. And Vogel has put a lot of air underneath that one, hasn't he? That's going all the way back. But Mikhail's read that really well. It's kind of died right into his hands, no one anywhere that close to him. Slaughter runs a give and go with Mikhail. He's looking downfield. Mikhail has Abrams in front of him. Abrams is open. Manages to catch that one and puts it in to Mbaye Vogel at the front of the end zone. There is an out call.
I think a slightly optimistic out call from Carnes. It might not be in the end zone, but it's definitely not out of bounds.
No, I was optimistic as... let's go with optimistic. But it's a goal scored by Nasser Mbaye Vogel. Well, it's closer than I thought it was, actually, but I think his back foot is down when he catches it before he takes that next step.
Yeah, I'm confident that it's in bounds. Again, for me, there's a slight question of whether the foot was clipping the line, but the end zone line, I should say, rather than the sideline. But yeah, no doubt that he's in bounds. In the end, the goal stands 13-5 for Clapham. They were 3-2 down in this game.
Yeah.
So that is an 11-2 run. That's how good this Clapham side has been against a FIERRO side that has caught a lot of people cold. I mean, on a different day, if the bracket shook out a little bit differently, I think they could absolutely be a semi-finals level team, could be a potential medalist for them, but they've come up against a real juggernaut in the quarterfinals here.
There's a few players on this FIERRO team that I'm very, very impressed with. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Girosso, who's had the disc in his hands a lot, but Lopez has been really good. Ibanez has been very good on defense. I'm impressed with Ku and with Carnes and Noyes as well. So some very, very good players on this team, but you're right, Clapham have just made a habit out of turning runs into crushing wins, and they're on their way to do it again. Nice little move from Setharaman. He has the disc on the far sideline, looks to come inside. That's not the intended receiver, but it doesn't matter too much. FIERRO continue with the disc. But that throw is not going to reach his intended target. Zlatic takes off for the end zone. Colicchio with the disc from Hall. Goes back to Hall. Hall bleeds it into the end zone. Is that in? It looks as though the nearest player is calling it in, but there is some discussion. Viches seems happy, and yes, it is in. FIERRO called it in, another break for Clapham, and they are 1 point away from the semi-finals.
I mean, they've properly boat raced them in the second half. It's been a dominating performance. One of the FIERRO players was looking to the game advisor as if expecting them to make a ruling, which is not what the game advisors do. They are just echoing the calls on the field.
No, that's not what the game advisors are there for. They help with rules. As we see, really good save from Cornell there. But this reset, just off the money. And the strike deep from Zlatic immediately makes the defense panic. Well, he might be out there.
I don't think he jumped in time, to be honest. Yeah. But I think FIERRO are just a little bit fatigued, and
might be. This is not the first time Clapham have done this in this tournament. And one of the games they had, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was an 8-4, 8-5 first half, and Clapham scored all 7 in the second half to win the game. So they have form for doing it. Once they find their rhythm, find their level, they've been doing an extremely good job at this tournament of finishing opponents off. And FIERRO now have the wind at their backs and will be trying to avoid that scenario as we see an offside call from the game advisor up on the far side, which I assume has been discussed with the advisor down here. Or is there a brick? Doesn't seem like anyone is sure, but we're going to the brick mark, whatever happened.
Start as if, it was inside, outside, so it's going to the brick, that's fine. And start as if timeout is over.
Okay, so Noyes brings it to the brick mark. Slaughter poaches off Girosso. He has the disc. Goes across the field. Big pressure from Mikhail. He gets the block. McInerney pops it back to Briggs. Mikhail with the disc. Clapham looking to win the game here. Goes in. Connor Mikhail to Magnus Wilson, two of the leaders of this team. Wilson catches it for the break, for the win. That is a 15-5 win. And what a statement in that second half from the Clapham Masters.
Yeah, Mikhail like a young Michael Owen there, where he just danced through FIERRO defenders in the end for the score. It was a sublime performance in that second half from the Clapham Masters. The first half, they were really up against it, and don't get me wrong, it was clear that they had levels to go into. But FIERRO came to play, and we've seen teams get rattled by sides that come out as strongly as FIERRO did, but they've been through so much, so vastly experienced individually and as a unit, the Clapham Masters, and this is a real marker down. A 15-5 victory over a FIERRO side that had only lost one game so far this weekend, and that was to the number 1 seed, Boneyard, and that was only 15-10.
Clapham with 11 breaks out of 17. Woof. Pretty good conversion rate of 65%.
The D-line was about as efficient as the O-line was.
They didn't get any chance to improve on that whole percentage because they didn't have any O points in the second half, but 15 turnovers to 24, 7 blocks to 2. We see Colicchio with 2 blocks, 3 assists and a goal, and Becca Chagnot with 4 assists and a block. A hell of a performance from a very, very good Clapham Masters team.
Yeah, they were exceptional today. I mean, full credit to FIERRO. In a way, it's a shame to not see them go further in the tournament because I think they have the quality. Coming in as a low seed, they have taken a lot of names this weekend. They'll probably take more names in that 5 to 8 bracket. I think they have had an excellent week and done themselves no harm here in Nottingham. But the relatively serene progress, despite a slightly shaky start, continues here for Clapham.
So Clapham goes to the semi-finals, where they will face probably a US team in their quest to try and get a World Championship gold. That is it from me, Sean Colfer from Benji Rees. Thank you for watching the free game here, the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships. And we hope to see you again very soon.